everyone. It's taking me a little while to get back into the whole video blog thing because, like, I know you've given me some things to talk about, but I keep coming up with blanks about, like, what specifically on those topics to talk about. So, yeah. I actually went back and found my old list of videos to do, which is, holy shit, how old is that? Let me check. Videos to do. Last time I edited it was in 2011. Holy crap! And I found also in that list there was this one called Power at a Price, and it said see stuff folder, and so I've looked that up, and wow, I found this thing. Power at a price is a rather detailed question that someone sent through in 2010, and I've still got these questions. Yeah, I must have copied them over from the old computer, so that's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, I'm in here, in this room today with, like, shitty lamp, just because I want to read this, and also, you know, the house isn't empty anymore. So I'm back in here, and I don't know, maybe we'll stay in here for a bit. But yeah, so here's this question. It's quite detailed. I'll read it out. And I think it's an interesting one because how I would have answered it back in 2010 if I'd gotten my shit together would probably be different to how I'd answer it now. So anyway, let's read the question. Hi Mariko, I've been asking this question to a lot of people and I thought you might be able to give me an interesting answer. Seeing as you're an atheist, this decision might not be that hard for you, but that's for you to decide. If someone came to you in a dream, let's say for conjecture a demon, and offered you whatever you wanted at the cost of rejecting your faith and being banished from heaven, would you accept? The offer could be anything you want, including superpowers of your choice, large sums of money, resurrection of a loved one, or anything else you desire in addition to losing your conscience and your ability to connect with other humans emotionally. If the demon told you that you wouldn't go to hell, would you trust it? Would you be willing to give up half of your remaining lifespan, and would you want to know how long you had left to live? Would you be willing to risk enslavement to this being? Is there anything you wouldn't trade for its powers, like family or anything material? I would really like to know. You'll help me out a lot. And that's from Test Student 3. I don't know if Test Student 3 is still out there, but 7 years later, I'm finally getting to your question. How about that? So I think the question is meant to be done in sections. So each of those little individual parts of it, I think, are meant to be answered sort of separately, but on a related note. So I guess I'll go through it like that. Yeah, because there's a lot in it, and it's asking a lot of things. But okay, so we're starting with the idea that if someone came to me in a dream and offered me whatever I wanted at the cost of rejecting my faith and being banished from heaven, would you accept? So I don't believe in heaven. I don't really have a faith. So, I mean, that seems pretty straightforward if someone was offering me whatever I want. The problem here is that being depressed, I don't have many concrete wants. It's really hard. Like, what would I ask for? I mean, to be happier, I guess, but what's happiness? Like, I'm not sure that a demon or anything like that would really have the power to give you it, because, I mean, just being happy all the time, it kind of loses its meaning. You need, like, meh days for happy days to, you know, actually make sense. I mean, the reason I know I'm depressed is because I've felt better than this before, and I've functioned better than this before, and this is definitely something wrong with me. I'm not sure if it's possible. I mean, I suppose it is possible to technically be depressed having never felt anything else, but I'm not sure that that would have a whole lot of meaning. I can't really imagine it. Just because I can't imagine it, though, doesn't mean it's not possible, but hey, we're getting into some philosophy here. Like, what is happiness? What is sadness? Do you have to have one to understand the other? I guess I mean, I'm making an assumption that you need at least something to compare it to. But I could be wrong, because when you get down to it, it's all chemicals in your head. Maybe, like, you can biologically have whatever emotion and have that as your only emotion. I think you would basically be a robot, but maybe you can just have that without having the subjective experience of feeling happy or sad. I don't know. Anyway, so asking for happiness, I don't know. Would you ask a demon for happiness? I think I would have to ask it to, like, what it actually means. I would be getting right into the details, like, okay, if you're gonna give me this, what does it actually mean? And I would ask so many questions, because I think too much. If someone's offering me some kind of big thing, I have to think about it a lot. And I need to know details, otherwise I get a bit paralyzed. Maybe that's just me. I can imagine other people just jumping on this and being like, I don't believe in God, whatever, let's do it. But the other thing is, I'm pretty strongly an atheist, but I do recognize that there's always the possibility that I'm wrong. In which case, I mean, if it did turn out to be wrong, I'm not really sure how I would react. I mean, it depends on, like, if I die and suddenly God or some kind of thing, it might not be a god, it might be anything. If something appears to me after death, and I don't think there's anything after death, but if there was, depending on what it was, I would have questions. So if it was, say, the Christian God, I would be like, what the fuck were you thinking? Just because, like, what is this world? Of course, I mean, being human and all that, I'm only capable of what this body is capable of. I mean, let's pretend I have a soul. I just think it's brain chemicals and impulses and whatever, but let's pretend I have a soul and consciousness isn't just an illusion and all that kind of stuff. So if I have a soul, it leaves my body and whatever. I don't know for sure that that soul would be limited in the same way that I am. It might suddenly know more than I do, or feel different things. And then, of course, if there is a God, it could probably influence your soul to think other things and all that. So, I mean, there's always the possibility that I could be wrong. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there is no God, there's no afterlife. This is just a stupid, meaningless world of physics and whatever. But because I'm just me, and I have limits, I would keep the tiny window open. So that would be, like, a question for me as well, because if, like, a demon comes to me and says all this stuff, I'd be like, so if you're real, is everything else real? And which God is real? Because I would like to know that before I go and do a deal with you. Yeah. And I would also, if a demon came to me, I mean, when you're dreaming, this says if someone came to you in a dream, and when you're in a dream, you tend to believe things that don't make sense. Like, I had a dream the other day about a really cool band name, and I thought this is the greatest band name, and I wrote it down and everything. But when I woke up, I realized it was just a dream. Now, I couldn't remember what that band name was. I know it started with a C and it ended in hubris, but I can't figure out what the rest of it was, right? But I was pretty sure it was amazing. The only thing is, even if I could remember what it was, in real life it might not be amazing, because your dream mind just, you know, your dream mind thinks that crazy shit that happens in your dream makes sense, and it only stops making sense once you wake up and you realize, yeah, there shouldn't be a giraffe in my bedroom, kind of thing. So there is that in the dream. But if I was a little bit more conscious and a demon came to me, I would be like, I've lost the plot. Because I don't believe in demons, and if one appeared to me, I would really just think first that I'm having some kind of psychosis. Unless I'm in that kind of dream state where I believe everything, in which case I probably will actually be insane, but I might actually talk to that demon. Anyway, it took me 10 minutes to answer the first part of the questioning. So that's the first part. If they offered you what you want, but you have to reject your faith and be banished from heaven, depending on the God, like if it's the Christian God, who sounds like a dickhead and is letting the world be like this, I would maybe say like, yeah, I don't need heaven. But yeah, it's hard for me to give a definitive answer because I need more details. But the next part of the question, it's saying what the offer could be: superpowers, money, resurrection, blah 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 blah. But then this one adds other bullshit. In addition to losing your conscience and your ability to connect with other humans emotionally. I think if you were going to choose this option that causes you to lose your conscience and human connection, you either already don't have a conscience or you don't think very far ahead. In my case, one of the things that I might ask for is, if happiness isn't possible, or, just recovery. Maybe I would ask for recovery. But the other thing that I would consider asking is just to not exist anymore. Because, I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts. And they pop into my head just at random these days as well, and that's tough. But I don't really think that I want to die. That sounds painful. I think I would just want to not exist so that I don't have the pain and I don't have to go through all this life of, trying to survive only to die at the end of it kind of thing, especially if I'm struggling to appreciate life. Life is just suffering, 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 death. So there's that. But the thing that's the reason that I do still exist, it's not because I want anything in particular, it's because people want me here. And I think this episode of depression has changed me for the better, I think. Because now, in the past, my depression was more like, the existential angst, what's the meaning of life, why am I here? I think it's more that kind of, self-centered kind of thing. And I've had my fair share of it this time around, but this time, because it's been so much deeper and so much longer, I think my family understands what I've been going through a lot better. I've gotten a whole lot more help this time. People are a lot more supportive because they also understand, and I understand, and I'm kinder to myself and whatever. But I've also developed more of that sense of gratitude because I did have to stop working. And so I'm relying on my parents and I'm relying on welfare. Because I would just not survive on my own. So I've got more of that sense of gratitude, but also guilt. And I gotta tell you, people saying, oh, the key to happiness is gratitude. I've got more of that now and I'm not happy. Gratitude is not the same as happiness, otherwise why would we need two words for them? Yeah. I can see why people would think that they're that linked, but it's not working for me. And maybe that's just because my depression is biological rather than, based on my thoughts. If it was my thoughts, I do have negative thoughts, but if I could enjoy something, I would, do that. If I had something that I was looking forward to doing or whatever, if I had my own kind of purpose, never mind the meaninglessness of existence, I would have something to do. Life could just be a game where you pursue your interests or whatever, but I don't really have that in that same way. I just, my emotions are so stunted, or else they're negative. So yeah, the gratitude thing hasn't worked for me. I appreciate, I have all this stuff, and some of it I bought myself, but I never would have been able to buy it myself if I didn't have the support of my family to begin with. And I have a roof over my head, and it's just, but I still feel dead inside. Anyway, so yeah, gratitude hasn't worked out for me in terms of translating into happiness. Anyway, that ramble, the point I'm trying to get to is the only reason I still exist is because people want me here. And I realize that when I'm dead, I won't be aware of people's pain and suffering, but because I'm still alive, I already have that preemptive guilt. If I killed myself or otherwise stopped existing, the people who do want me to be around, it'd just be a horrible thing to do to them. And so, you know, giving up my ability to connect with other humans emotionally, in the state that I'm in now, if you just take that phrase, like, I would have no reason to keep existing. So, you know, it's a weird sort of paradox. See, I could ask the demon to stop my existence, but I can't ask if I still have a human connection. If I do ask, though, I lose the human connection, but that's a bit like the whole suicide thing in the first place. I mean, in both cases, I have to either die or ask for my existence to be eliminated first, if it's going to happen. So I don't think it would happen. Does that kind of make sense? I'm not articulating very well, but, you know, I have the human connection to begin with, and that's what stops me from doing the other things. So I think it wouldn't happen. As I guess, like, that's kind of linked to your conscience. So I think, yeah, you either are a sociopath without a conscience, if you take this, or you're someone who has acted on an impulse and not thought about it. I don't know that anyone would really choose this option just on their own. Anyway, I'm rambling. I hope that kind of makes some sense. Anyway, let's just move on to the next one, because I'm just getting bogged down in philosophy. Okay, if the demon told you that you wouldn't go to hell, would you trust it? I think this is another one where it really depends on the details. Like, which demon is it? If the demon exists, chances are there is some kind of hell. How do these kinds of promises work? What is hell? I mean, there's the whole fire and brimstone thing, but I remember, you know, I went to Catholic school for ages, and in Catholic primary school, I remember one of the teachers telling us that hell wasn't actually fire and brimstone, it was just separation from God. And if you already don't believe in God, you're already separated from him, her, it, them, whatever. So that's a bit of a weird one, if hell is just separation from God. There's also, like, it was either Buffy or Angel that kind of implied that this world is hell, and then there are a few, like, I think Hinduism or there are actually a few religions that kind of have this levels, and going from hell through earth up to heaven, and we could be in any one of those levels. And given the state of the world, I think we're pretty low on the ladder, if you think of the cake. So we could already be in hell. It's probably the question would be better if the demon told you you wouldn't go to a worse hell. That implies that there's something better, though, so wouldn't you want to go to something better? I don't know. Let's move on. Would you be willing to give up half of your remaining lifespan? And would you want to know how long you had left to live? Okay, so this is another one that relies on me being kind of suicidal. But also, I talked before about seeing my grandparents deteriorating in nursing home before they died. And not wanting to see my parents go through that and hoping that euthanasia becomes legalized. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind giving up half my remaining lifespan. I mean, I'm a female, living in a Western country, living in Australia with free healthcare. I don't have any major health problems besides my mental health. I've got low blood pressure, so I'm not worried about cholesterol. I could exercise more. And, you know, there are some physical things I could work on. But overall, you know, reasonably healthy. Females tend to live longer. I'm in a country where people live reasonably long. So what? I would live at least until 80 as long as I didn't get hit by a car or something, right? And I'm 28 now. So let's just round that up to 30. So that means I've got at least 50 years left to go. Holy fuck, you mean I have to live in this existence for another 50 years? So yeah, I wouldn't mind cutting my remaining lifespan if I was... I mean, at the moment I'm assuming that I'm asking this demon for something I actually want, even though right now I don't know what I want. Besides, you know, not being depressed. And then I guess when I'm not depressed, maybe I would figure out what I want from life. And so on. But I don't know. Life's just, like, it's so life's meaningless, and so it's hard for me to imagine. I mean, one day maybe life won't seem meaningless to me, but at the moment it's really hard for me to imagine. Anyway. You know what I'm saying. If I knew there was something I wanted, I would consider giving up half of my remaining lifespan. Because, I mean, apart from having to endure this existence, which might be easier with the demon helping you out, but there's that, and then also getting old doesn't look like fun. You know, you've got a good few years, but when you start getting up to 70, 80, depending on your health, I don't want to live past 80 for sure. I think like maybe 60 or 70, and then I'm not sure that I want to hang around. I mean, I don't have any particular ambitions. I kind of am just waiting around until I die, trying to survive and, you know, not have a terrible life. So there's that. Would you want to know how long you had left to live? I think that's a mixed question, but I think yes, because then you can plan ahead. Like, you don't want to work your butt off and then die just before you achieved whatever you wanted to achieve. Or, you know, you don't want to run out of time and miss out on doing something that you wanted to do. I mean, assuming you have things you want to do. So I think knowing exactly how long you had left could be helpful. Although if you're like, if you're sick or something, and you know exactly how much longer you have to endure something without being able to function, that would suck. But if we get back to the demon thing, what if you asked for immortality? This question dies. Because half of immortality is still immortality. And I don't know, I would not ask for immortality because I think, like, life is kind of shitty. And I cannot imagine living forever. I don't think that would be a good idea. But you could, just to piss off this demon, like, you know, this demon thinks it's so smart. You know, yeah, it says this offer could be anything you want. And it doesn't seem to have any limit, like, it doesn't specifically say you can only ask for one thing. And if it did say you could only ask for one thing, you could, like, if it didn't impose limits, you could say, I want more than one thing, and it would have to give them to you. Yeah. So I think this question, like, I mean, the state that I'm in now, I would give up half my remaining lifespan, and I would want to know how long I had left to live. But if I got better and life was good, maybe I would change my mind on that. Like, if things were looking good and I was healthier than I expect to be in, you know, 20, 30 years' time, maybe I would want to have the rest of my remaining lifespan. I think it's unlikely. But yeah, the questions are tricky because I don't really know the future. When this question was posed to me 7 years ago, I was much more self-centered and much more hungry for fantasy power, like, you know, superhero type stuff. yeah, I'm probably like I'm probably getting to the end of my teenage phase, or maybe I have gotten to the end of the teenage phase and it's taken me this long to be more of an adult. Because, yeah, the last 10 years I've been like so fucking weird, and maybe that was more of my teenage phase because I didn't go through it in high school. Like, a little bit of rebellion in my own way, but mostly I just went to school and did the thing and didn't have much personality, like outward personality. I kept it all in my head and so on, and I didn't really start experimenting with my image or who I am until I got out of high school. So I think I've just had a really late teenager phase, and that's part of the reason why my answers 7 years ago might have been different. But I did. There is also that thing, like, your brain keeps developing until you're 30 or something. So, you know, I would say my brain's taken away a while to settle down, and then you learn more things with experience and you change. So yeah, okay, next question. I'm rambling. This is going to be a long one, isn't it? Are you still here? How are you going? 26 minutes, fuck. Would you be willing to risk enslavement to this being? If that was in the deal, I'd tell him to fuck off. I don't like being told what to do. Like, even with things that I like doing, like music. I have a degree in music, specializing in music production and composition, but I never became a composer because I can't write for other people. And to be honest, getting out of that degree, I didn't really know how to write music. I just kind of, like, I had the techniques to be able to do it, but I didn't really know how to put them together. I didn't really figure that out until I started doing more band stuff and just practiced more in my own time and worked out how I like to write songs. But, you know, that stuff aside, I'm getting off topic. Yeah, no, if someone wanted me to write like a film score, or even if they just wanted me to write a specific kind of song, I really struggle with that. It's also why I quit the graphic design thing, because they wanted me to draw coffee logos, so many different coffee logos, and I hate coffee. And I got bored, and I just, like, if you tell me what to do, I get annoyed and I feel trapped, and then I get depressed. So if this demon was like, you can have all this shit, but then when I tell you to do shit, you have to do shit, I'd be like, no, I'm not a slave. I mean, you have to put up with some things in life, and you have to do certain things, but it's not slavery. We have a reasonable amount of freedom, despite, you know, society's restrictions, and that works better for me. I don't like being told what to do. Yeah, so I would not be into that if that was part of the conditions. Last question. Is there anything you wouldn't trade for its powers? I find this question really difficult, because I don't know what I want. And apart from family, I mean, I guess family, but I don't, like, I mean, I have the gratitude and I feel the guilt, but yeah, I think this whole thing was really difficult because I don't know what I want in life, or in general. Like, I want is kind of an abstract thing in some ways, but I do have, like, things like, you know, I want to eat something, but it's not like this kind of demon. I don't need a demon to feed me. So, yeah. Anyway, let's wrap that up before it gets to 30 minutes. Hey. Tell me what you think, and if I missed anything, and if I rambled and got you confused about something, because, like, I did not plan this. I just started filming, and yeah. Till next time, eh? Oh, I'm so bad at turning this off.